All right. Well, game one is in the books. And if that is anything that we are expecting for the rest of this series, I think this series is probably going to break some records in the goal department. I don't know what they are, but this series is going to set them. No lead in this series will be safe. The Avs are on notice. Is this a series that you want where you just have to outscore everybody and feel like, hey, we got 4 goals, it's 4-0? That's not going to mean jack in this series. But the Avs hang on and win this thing 8-6. They get the first game under their belt and are now 3 victories away from getting into the Stanley Cup Finals. But this is going to be a challenge. Let's start talking about it.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Avalanche fans, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, LockedOnAvalanche@gmail.com. And follow the show over on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. You caught your breath, Kyle?
No.
Yeah, we're recording, obviously, a few minutes after the game is over, but I genuinely did not feel safe with the lead that we had. Even when the Avs were up 7-3, I was telling myself this game is not over. I didn't think the Avs were going to lose it, but you knew Edmonton had some goals left in them, and boy, did they. They came back like a bat out of hell, and almost came back to tie this thing. They were down 7-3, and the Avalanche had to do everything they could to hang on. What's your takeaway from this thing? Just minutes after it's over.
Yeah, when we talked with Brett in the Locked On Oilers Avalanche crossover, we talked about this coming down to the goalie position. Little did we know, goalies don't matter. Like, it's honestly, how are you going to score? And it kind of came around at the end with us giving Edmonton every chance to score, putting them on bad power plays. The whistles were being called very selectively, so you got to be very cautious with what you're doing. And when the momentum's shifting like it was, they were leading in shots for a majority of this game, and it started getting closer towards that late second, early third. And with the goalie change, you got to be a little bit smarter. But if you're scoring like this, it doesn't really matter. It's who scores last.
Yeah. The Avs were, it seemed like a copy of the St. Louis series where they were really in command for most of the first. They came out, you could tell they were just wanting to get a couple shifts in and get their legs going. And once they did in the first, they were in charge.
Yeah.
And what was let me see, after, there were so many goals scored in this game. I can't remember what the heck it was. Well, Evander Kane got the first. So it was 3-2 at the end of the first. And it was almost 2-2. Mm-hmm. And that Cale Makar goal is going to be talked about on the day off. And Edmonton fans are not happy with it from it not being called offsides. I get that. And at first, I think everybody was in agreement that was offsides. Even Avalanche fans. I'm going through social media and everybody's like, this is getting called back. And through, I don't even want to call it a loophole. It makes sense as to what, I wasn't even watching that. I was just watching where Cale Makar had the puck and where Val Nichushkin was on the other side of the line. I was not paying attention to the puck actually being on his stick when he's coming into the zone. I don't think about that. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking of the two things that I just mentioned, and the refs. They're and the people in Toronto, they are watching that stuff. So I get why Oiler fans are mad, but I feel like the way that the rule is written, it's the right call. He's not, the puck is not on his stick, and players do that a lot. They have these delayed offsides. I don't think that's what Cale Makar was going for.
No,
I don't think he was intentionally doing that, but it's just coincidence that the puck was not on the blade of his stick when Val Nichushkin is getting back on sides.
I know I was not happy with the call. I really don't think it. Like, if I was Edmonton, I would be furious. And as an Avalanche fan, I'm furious for you. I don't think I've ever seen it called that way. In all my years of hockey watching, I don't think I've ever seen it called like that. It's almost ironic that Gabe Landeskog's in the background of an Offsides review.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know how I felt about it. And honestly, it was brought up in the Locked On Avalanche Twitter Spaces about that goal. It didn't matter if it counted or not. That was one of those goals late in that first period that would stick with Mike Smith. It was going to rattle you if it counted or not, because that was a beautiful goal, and feeling that momentum shift for Colorado in that moment, right after scoring a goal, thinking that everything was, that you tied it up, everything's going good, and then Cale Makar takes that away from you. It's really starting to rattle Mike Smith, even if they called it back or not. So it was a pivotal goal at that time, but
it was a dagger. It was.
Yeah.
It really was.
And it played to the rest of his mentality through the rest of the game, and it only added to it because of just the wonkiness of the rule.
Yeah. I mean, the Avs again gave up a late period goal that seems to be a problem for them all throughout these playoffs.
Yeah.
With 2 minutes or less, they're giving up goals, and they did it again. This was, I think, to Zach Hyman. Yeah. And Cale Makar bailed him out with that play. That was a beautiful shot, beautiful goal. And that kind of just set the tone for, all right, this game is going to be all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, nobody thought, okay, that first period was just out of control. 3-2 goals going all over the place. I think it's going to settle down in the second period, and in the third period, like, no, it just amped up even more in the third. And the Evander Kane goal was just a bad defensive move by Josh Manson, and he got behind everybody, and he got one on Darcy Kuemper. I don't know, like, even then, it was. I've said it before with this Avalanche team. Even when they give up a first goal, that doesn't matter. Really didn't matter. Because this was just goal city, and I don't know. I don't know what to think. Like, I feel good about the win, but this is gonna, like, I don't know going forward. Is this the kind of series you want to play for the Avs? You can play it. You can play because you're fast enough. You have the scoring ability, but I don't think anybody wants to get into these track meets for a 7-game series.
I chalked it up to one of those goofy, ridiculous games when Cogliano got a 5-on-5 goal to put us up 7-3. That's when I officially hit, this game is officially dumb. I'm done. Like, it's the Avalanche were scoring. You were excited. You're like, wow, game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. You're getting out. You're torching them. We're up 6-3, and then Cogliano goes 7-3, and you kind of step back and you look, and you're like, is this sustainable? Like, JT Compher is scoring. You're getting goals from Mikko Rantanen. Everybody that's been yelling for him to score goals, congratulations, you got your wish. Everyone's scoring, and then you're like, this isn't sustainable. Like, where's McDavid? Where's Draisaitl? You're not hearing those names. You're not feeling that pressure. And then you don't know what game 2 is going to yeah, they're there. But you don't know what game 2 is going to look like, especially when it comes to Darcy Kuemper, Burakovsky, what the lineup's going to look like now that you have access to the Eagles, now that they're out of the Calder Cup playoffs. there's a lot of variables. And I was saying in the Twitter space, this is not indicative of the entire series because this can change in an instant.
And literally anybody can score. Like the Oilers had no answer for the Avs' third and fourth line. They didn't.
No.
And those lines were looking fantastic early in the game. But what happened, like when the Avs got up, I don't think it was the Avs. This was not them falling back on their heels like they did against the Blues in Game 5. This was, an offensive team in Edmonton. I don't even want to say waking up because they were scoring their own goals. I mean, they had their lull, but when they came out of it towards the end there, like it's just difficult to stop them.
Yeah.
Just as it's difficult to stop the Avalanche. And the Avalanche have a better defensive unit than the Oilers. Now, I think there's Cale Makar played great. Bowen Byram had another solid game. Manson struggled a little bit, with some plays here and there. I thought Taves had a up and down game. He struggled a little bit. Eric Johnson, I thought, played well. Jack Johnson did, I don't know, like nothing surprising. So overall, as a defensive unit, I don't think the Avalanche had a good game aside from the goals that were scored. I'm not focusing on those. Yes, when you take that into account, it was not a good day. But just how they played outside, Cale Makar had a great game. I think Makar and Byram had good games. Eric Johnson had a good game. And then the other three, they got to play better.
Yeah.
They do. And because this is going to be, you got to show that, okay, like we know that they have the offensive ability. And with McDavid and Draisaitl, like you're not going to shut those guys down. You have to shut the other units down. You just have to. And I know that's a tall order. And I don't know if it's going to be done. I think this is going to be this series, man. We have the East and the West. The East is going to be 1-0 games, and the West is going to be 8-6 games. I don't think there's any way around this. And for the goalies, we'll get to Kuemper in the next segment, but you just have to do the best you can. Good luck, fellas. That's all you can say.
Yeah, may the force be with you for the rest of the series because the goalies are going to have it bad, especially if both defenses keep playing this way.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from Rock Auto, and then we will get to Darcy Kuemper. We don't know. Well, I shouldn't say we don't know. That Adrian Dater put up something which maybe is a little concerning. So, all right, Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it is now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand that their warehouse happens to carry when you have a computer with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. It's a family-run business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. The prices are reliably low for every customer. So go explore their easy-to-use website today and find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck right locked on. And the how did you hear about us section so they know that we sent you to them. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. So Mike Smith gets pulled and Darcy Kuemper, it seemed like he left the game after a TV timeout. And the word was it was an injury. I don't think it was at the time. I wasn't thinking, well, Jared Bednar is, if they're pulling their goalie, I'll pull mine. Like that's not what you're going to do. But he never came back. And then I think at the beginning of the third, they said he was doubtful, upper body injury. And then right before we went to record, Adrian Dater said he heard it has something to do with the eye. So I don't know. Like I know he took a couple of shots off the mask, some hard shots off the mask. I don't know. Some people think that he hasn't been right since midway through that St. Louis series, and this is creeped back up somehow, or and he's just trying to power through it. And if that's the case, do we now turn to Frankie? I mean, we have to.
Yeah, it was weird, the series of events, Lemony Snicket and the series of unfortunate events, if you will.
Right.
the broadcast was kind of selling it like, oh, it's an equipment issue.
Yeah,
And you saw him like in the tunnel adjusting things, and you're like, what is going on coming back from the intermission? And then he finally gets out there and he plays a little bit, and you're like, okay, fine. That was a weird delay. Come back from commercial, and Darcy's gone. And then I think it was Keith Jones was like, oh, yeah, he's back getting, I think it's his equipment.
right.
And then that's what you're under the assumption of. And then you start getting the tweets of, oh, no, he's out with an injury, upper body. And you're like, what is going on? And then the more it goes on, of course, it leads up to possibly the eye or something of that nature. It's concerning, especially, yes, the narrative through the St. Louis series was he didn't look right.
Right.
If I get that, but why now?
Yeah,
Why?
what happened for it to say re-aggravate? You know, you can't re-aggravate an eye injury, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can't imagine it happened in this game. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's happened in the past and he's trying to work through it and power through it. And then maybe something in this game made it a little bit worse and he had to pull himself out. I don't know. It didn't seem like there's anything there that was like, oh, that was something that would rub up against his eye or something like that and irritate it more.
I hear what you're saying there. And like I was trying to follow that train of logic while I was processing the tweets and the information coming out. Why would you decide to play game one, knowing that's your issue, knowing if you win or lose, it's not going to really affect the series, and then put yourself in there for game 6, knowing you can't track why put yourself through that, possibly go to game 7, and then are you going to say, well, I think I could do it then? This is what I would say. Like, if I know I can't see, that's why I say, hey, coach, let Frankie take this one. I need a little bit. I don't think there would have been any issue in the world with that.
I mean, maybe it wasn't as bad in the St. Louis game. Like, it wasn't really affecting him that much. And then something happened in this game where it just got too much. And he's like, all right, now it's gone over the point of comfortability. And I got to take myself out. I don't know. We don't know. Yeah. We're just kind of guessing here. But I thought Pavel Francouz came in. I thought he played well, considering at the end of the second period, he had to stop a slew of shots from Edmonton, and he did that. And I thought that was going to be a confidence builder. And I think that the goals that he gave up, one was kind of like a fluky bounce from behind the net. And I don't remember who it was going off. If you're standing behind that, he's going off to the right and kind of just threw it, and it bounced across. And like, it really wasn't on him, but I don't know, man. Like, we have to really see where Darcy Kuemper is. And I mean, that is going to be telling for the rest of the Avalanche season. Yeah. Because if he can't come back, and I know people are like kind of on him right now and in the doghouse, be honest. If this game is a microcosm of what this series is going to be, would you rather Pavel Francouz in there or Darcy Kuemper? I am taking Darcy Kuemper every single time. I'm not in, and I love Pavel Francouz, but I don't think he can keep up with this kind of play. I really don't. And I'm not saying the Avs are in trouble if it's Francouz the rest of the way in this series. I'm just saying it's going to be that much more tougher. Or more tough, whatever the proper English for that is. Because it's a big ask of him to shut down this offensive team.
I say, this is just me being me. Mm-hmm. I would put Frankie in and keep riding it. And I'll tell you why. Darcy Kuemper let up that goal that he thought he had off his blocker, and it was
just sitting there.
It was just a wide open, just apple right there. Just pick it and go. If Frankie's not 100%, get him 100%, because if this is what it's going to be, let Frankie try. Like, he's seen what this Oilers team looks like. Let him get out there and get something going. We could score on the other end. That's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
All we have to do is tighten up the defense. You mentioned how bad 3 of the 6 looked. Tighten up at least 2 of them. We have a chance. Yeah. Let Frankie play until Darcy's like, okay, I can see, I can read that chart with the E at the top and read all the little letters at the bottom. Like, I could see, I could do it, I could go. Let him close out the series and then go to the next round. Let Frankie play and because I agree with you, you'd rather have Darcy in, but let Darcy play in the games that will matter. Let him heal up now. Do not rush him back.
Well, I guess that's the other question. Do you play a 100% healthy Pavel Francouz and a 70%, 80% healthy Darcy Kuemper? That's the question that needs to be asked. But that injury is an eye injury.
Yep.
I mean, any injury anybody has, including a goalie, you have to take into account because they use every single part of their body. But the most important part is being able to see pucks being shot at you.
Yeah.
And if he's not 100% there, I think this is the Pavel Francouz show for a little while. And maybe it is a couple games till he gets back to healthy again. But I just want to know when it happened. Was it in this game? Was it back in the St. Louis game? And it just got progressively worse. And then something happened, one of those pucks off the face, like I said, kind of like shifted the goalie mask just a little bit and rubbed like, who knows? Who knows? But it's being an Avalanche fan. That's what worries me right now. It generally does, really does.
Well, we now have the access to the Eagles now, so we got Miska, Minor, Annanen.
You don't
like
want that.
It's God. It's there. I'm just saying that so everyone doesn't think the sky's falling. You have Frankie. Get through. Let's worry about Edmonton before we start thinking far into the future. But
yeah,
Frankie held up tonight and had a better save percentage. So, at one point he did, with looking at the exact same amount of shots. So we'll see, but it's going to be Frankie until Darcy could prove that he could go 100%.
He's going to have to be. More to get to with this game. We'll talk about individual performances, look at some stats, and what to expect for the next game. But first, it's betonline.net, and our partners over at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs. When we did our crossover with Brett yesterday, I mean, we said if you wanted a slam dunk bet, you bet the over in this series, and it was 6.5 total goals. I'm really curious to see what the next game will be. I think it's going to go up by. But how do you?
It'll probably be about 8.
Who does that though? I mean, you don't see an 8.5 or 9.5 for a total game spread, but it could be up there. We shall see. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball, the NHL playoffs, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, from live betting to the playoffs to esports and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. It's betonline.net, where the game starts. All right, for the Avs, you always have those moves that Jared Bednar does. And for this one, you had Alex Newhook in, and Nicholas Aube-Kubel was not in, and Burakovsky was in. So when I saw Burakovsky and Newhook in, you kind of felt like Jared Bednar knew this was going to be a track meet.
Yeah.
And knew this was going to be a high-scoring game and most likely series, and how it was matchups based on offense and defense and pairings and things like that for the first 2 series. It just seems like this one is, here's all my offensive guys and go have at it. And they did. I thought Alex Newhook had a beautiful pass to JT Compher on that first goal, and that was much needed. That was right after the Evander Kane goal, which got the scoring going, and you want to see that. And the Avs did it twice with the Cale Makar goal, offsides, not offsides, but the first JT Compher goal, they turned right around and matched what Edmonton did. And I thought, and Newhook overall, I thought he played a pretty good game. That started it off for him. I thought, man, that's exactly what he needs. What do you have for the rest of the game, though? Let me see if he. That was it. That was it in 12 minutes of ice time. So, what was your, and even with the lines, you had Val Nichushkin back up on the top line.
Yeah,
happy with that.
And it worked. Because you had that second line really producing. Like, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think every member of that second line produced tonight. You had Mikko, Nas, and Lehkonen. Lehkonen, I don't think he had a goal tonight, but Nas and Mikko did.
Lehkonen had an assist. Yep.
So, I mean, that's working. And if you're gearing your lineups towards an offensive-minded 4 lines, you achieved that tonight.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see what Burky looks like. I don't know if he returned after that puck to the leg, but I mean, this is what you want. And if you're getting scoring out of Cale Makar, I mean, this is exactly how you want it to look. If you have to put Abe Kubel in there, fine. It's not going to break my heart, but the lines are producing, and that's what you want.
You had, I think, 12 guys score a point, at least a point. The only ones that did not score for forwards were Darren Helm and, oddly enough, Val Nichushkin. I thought maybe he had an assist somewhere in there, but he did not.
Nuke gets a pass, and Helm, for getting us here, gets a pass.
Yeah. But Nichushkin still played well. He's always going to play well, even if he doesn't get on the stat sheet. And then on the defensive side, we said Josh Manson struggled. I'm just looking at this now. -4 for Josh Manson today. And I think Bednar knew it because he only played him 14 minutes and 24 seconds. So, and that's on a pairing with Jack Johnson. I don't think that works.
Yeah. I really
that.
can't. None of that sounds good.
No. I think you just leave the Johnson and Johnson line together.
Yep.
Put Manson with Byram, and then you got Makar and Taves in the top. I think those are your pairings. But Manson, he went from maybe his best game since joining the Avs in Game 6 against St. Louis to maybe his worst. Maybe, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
It was a advanced Father's Day gift for his dad on the other side.
I said he should tell his dad, like, because his dad said something about, like, well, at least I get to see my granddaughter.
Yeah.
And if I'm Manson, I'm like, oh, you don't get to see her. If you want to hand over the victories, then you'll get to see her. You gotta play that card, Manson. So, we didn't do a sound check. We got to get to a sound check, by the way. So, songs that we feel best summarize all of the action. If you're new to the show, Kyle and I pick a song, win or lose, add it to our Spotify playlist, which you can find over at LOPN Soundcheck. And what do you got for today, man?
From one of my bands, Black Label Society, headed up by Zach Wilde. The song is Fire It Up, because the tone has been set early. We've got eyeballs on this series now with the scoring 14 goals in one game. Fire it up, let the engines roll. It's time to burn it down.
And mine is kind of similar to that in the way that the game was played. I went with a Deftones song called Rocket Skates. Just what it looked like out there when you have guys, like Makar and McKinnon and McDavid and Draisaitl, and they're just flying up and down the ice. It looks like what they are on is a pair of rocket skates. Yep. I think I'm going to run out of songs to pick for this one. It's going to have to go in a different direction because I can't just keep picking speed ones. Like, I'm trying to think of other ones in my head that
should have done the Speed Racer theme song.
The Speed Racer theme song. There you go. I mean, you'll have an opportunity to use it. I can almost guarantee you. So yeah, go follow that playlist. Those two songs will be up probably in the morning. I'll put them up ASAP in the morning. I mean, other than that, I don't know, man. Like it's such a
It's
bittersweet
weird.
win. It's a weird win because you did some good things. You scored 8 goals. You did some good things. You gave up 6, and you gave up a 7-3 lead. Not you didn't give it up as you were now trailing. So you did some bad things too. You lost your starting goalie. It was a mishmash of a game that at times made you feel really good, and then towards the end, and I guess at the end, like it's another thing that makes you feel good is the fact that they hung on,
Yeah.
because I think we were all preparing for overtime with just how goals were coming at ease and at will. You were like, okay, once they pull the goalie and they get up another player, like they're going to score.
Yeah.
So give the Avs credit for not allowing that to happen. It's such a roller coaster of a game.
And something that I really took away from this game as a whole, with how we closed out that series with St. Louis, and we talked about it on the show with them kind of getting cerebral, like getting in their self, gripping the sticks tighter, kind of like really getting inside their self. Like they did not do that up against the Titans of Draisaitl and McDavid. Like they played free, almost like this next round is almost like house money. We did it. That's off our back. We don't have to worry about that stress and that narrative that we can't get past round 2. We're here. Now what can we do with it? It felt like a fresh start, and you could see that in the first and second period. There was this air to the way that they were playing. It was
Oh yeah.
fast and free, and hopefully we could build off that instead of seeing everything that went wrong in this game and like collapsing on that and micromanaging it. Keep playing with that free flow, because that had you up 7-3 at one point. So I'd get back to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean it's good to play that way, but you don't want to play so free that you let the other team back in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's a fine line there, and they, like I said, they did good things and bad things. You had they made Edmonton pay
Mm-hmm.
for challenging and losing the challenge, which put the Avalanche on a power play, and you get the Nazem Kadri goal. Like
Yeah.
that's the stuff that you need to do.
Yeah.
Later on in the game, Nazem Kadri had a breakaway. Kind of, I mean, it was a breakaway, and it was pretty good defensive play. Kind of got his stick on his stick, and just interrupted Kadri enough where he couldn't get enough on the backhand. But when you have opportunities like that, and he didn't score, I'm like, man, like we need that stuff.
Yeah.
Anytime you get an opportunity in a series like this where goals are all over the place, anytime you get an opportunity to score one, you have to,
Yeah.
because it's so valuable. You know what I mean? And then the Gabe Landeskog penalty at the end, he can't do that stuff.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I know he was thinking it's McDavid. I have to slow him up a little bit because I am trailing him, and he can get up in the play a lot quicker than I can. So I've just stopped him a little bit. I think McDavid embellished a little bit there. They're not going to call that on him. But you just have to be smarter. You have to be smarter, because what happened? They got a goal off of that. And he redeemed himself later on for getting the empty netter and really putting the game away. But you have to play smart. You can't play, I guess, I don't even know the word. Like the Landeskog one is a good example. I think he panicked because McDavid was in front of him and he had the drop on him, and I think he was afraid McDavid was just going to bolt into the play and leave him in the dust and score. So he tried to slow him up. Okay, I get it, but you just have to be smarter. The puck was deep into the zone, and sometimes you just have to take chances rather than a penalty. You just have to hope the defenders that are up there notice him and get in front of him. There's other things that can happen than you take a penalty in that spot. So
late in the game too.
Very late in the game. So there's obviously a lot of things that need to be cleaned up, a lot of things that you can be happy about if you're an Avs fan. The where are they? The faceoffs got a little bit back in line. They were way out of whack in favor of Edmonton early on.
So I think up to 63% early in the game.
It was something like that. Might even be a few percentage points higher than that. It was bad. I don't know, man. I think we're going to see things in this series that we don't normally see in a hockey game. And it's just because these two teams have all the offensive abilities.
You'll have a better feeling after game 2 because both teams are about to overcorrect.
Well, if you remember in game 1 with Edmonton and Calgary, that was out of control.
Oh, yeah, true. That's very true.
And
Good
then
point.
Calgary just hit a wall, but Edmonton kept going.
Yeah.
They didn't hit a wall. So, but Calgary, they can score. They have really good scorers on the team, but they're not like we said, this is a track meet. Calgary doesn't want to get into a track meet with anybody. Avalanche are just fine doing that.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I don't see either of these teams hitting a wall. And I also don't see a goalie being, Igor Shesterkin or Vasilevsky in this game. In this series.
The difference one of those would make on the other side,
I know, man. Like, I'm comfortable because I know the Avs have the offensive ability to overcome that, but it doesn't give you a good feeling knowing that's how you're going to have to win these games. So, I don't know, man.
More scoring. Here we come.
Well, that's what Nathan McGinnon said. He goes, hopefully it brings in viewers and lowers the escrow. And I think when people see this score, they're like, oh, I'm going to go tune into that series because that's what I want for the casual fan is scoring. So, all right. In the end, we're up 1-0. And that's really all that matters. So we get a day off and then we do it all again on Thursday. So Kyle and I will be back tomorrow. Hopefully we have updates on Darcy Kuemper and anything else we feel like talking about. We will do that tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Go check out Locked On NHL or even Locked On Oilers with our buddy Brett for your second listen of the day. Hear what he has to say. He was none too pleased with that offside. How large did that loom at the end of the game? Right? So we'll go check that out for your second listen of the day. All right, everybody, that'll wrap it up. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.